I keep hearing about how kids and teenagers now lack problem-solving and critical thinking skills. Is this true? Or internet sensationalism? Adults also lack those skills. Critical thinking has been poor across most generations, hence why half the shit we don't like in hindsight that arose continues to happen. A lot of people eat what's put in front of them. I feel my peers are better critical thinkers than my parents' and grandparents' generation. There's less persecution for questioning authority nowadays, even though it's still rife. I have vivid memories of the same thing being said in the early 1970s when I was in my teens. Plus a change. I've been reading shit like this all my life and I'm 67. My take is that it isn't a lack of critical thinking skills. If anything, it is a lack of initiative and self-confidence. When I was a mid-late teen, oh boy, here he goes, we never really had a problem picking up a power tool, jumping into a strange car, hunting, walking into a new job, or going into a strange business. Heck, I met my wife by just driving my car up to her, pulling over and started to talk. I see some kids being a lot more tentative about too many things, which slow rolls their skill building. The other issue is that these things aren't universal. Some kids are as smart tough as ever, but there is a widening gap within the generation which I think may really split them apart. Brains are still developing, so it's always been true. There's something that changes with each generation. With most kids growing up on iPads, devices where everything is more refined, they will be better at some things and worse at others. Vs Gen Z millennial, for example, fail know how to navigate tech literate, information gathering, but be lower in handwriting. Reading still depends on the parents, and navigating issues on tech devices. Had a prof ask our class, have you heard the term no man is an island, do you agree or disagree? Kid in class agreed, no man is an island. The prof in class got kinda intrigued, since this kid was a fucking idiot who managed to forget a calculator 7 weeks in a row. Prof asks kid to explain, well, humans aren't islands cause they don't have trees and rocks and stuff. I literally hit my head against the desk in shock at how fucking stupid this kid was. That was 20 years ago. Kids will always be dumb. We teach them what we can and some will evolve. Some will find a way to never have a unique thought in their life. When you slap a tablet in front of a 3-year-old. I said something like this to my old art teacher when I started working at my high school as a classroom assistant. Something along the lines of, we were never like that when I was here. She looked at me dead in the eyes and said, you just never noticed it from the outside before. Every generation assumes they are the ones who got it right and everyone before and after were idiots. Nothing changes. Instant access to a wealth of information makes people mentally lazy. Why think for yourself when you can just search on your phone in 5 seconds? Add that into wanting easy, black and white answers and voila. Critical thinking has been on the decline for some time. I think when many schools did away with proofs in geometry class, that was a symptom of a larger problem. Proofs make you assemble information and think through multiple steps to the outcome. It is a skill that must be practiced and learned. Then, writing has devolved to paragraph writing instead of well thought out papers. I mean, from my limited anecdotal experience, it seems pretty true. I have a young cousin who is 16. He's basically incapable of problem solving with use of the internet. Constantly texts me to ask very basic PC issues that would take about 15 seconds of Googling to come up with a solution. I've tried to guide him on smart Googling, but he just seems incapable. Most of his friends give me the same sort of vibe. The younger Gen Z were supposed to be highly technologically literate, but it seems to have swayed the opposite, where they can use devices all the time, but can't use them in a productive manner. If he's on his phone, it's just constant TikTok and YouTube shorts. I hardly ever see the kid read anything. As a middle school teacher who went to private school in the 1990s, from my experience, the opposite is true. Common Core does a great job at teaching critical thinking, something that wasn't even talked about, let alone taught 20-30 years ago. I remember friends that went to the challenge program at the public high school did not know what evidence was, let alone how to cite it. I find most of those comments are from older teachers that are the reason why the federal government enacted NCLB and testing in order to weed them out. They weren't teaching it, and nostalgia has rotted their brains. The amount of basic questions I see posted on sites like these go some way to supporting the claim. Not sure if it is a lack of critical thinking skills or just sheer laziness, with the attitude, I will just ask the internet the most basic questions and let the answer come to me rather than researching it themselves. It is a poor sample, but just watch YouTube or TikTok. I think it is a mix of just Google it plus everybody gets a trophy that has created a culture of all viewpoints are valid. And that is the opposite of critical thinking. Always been this way, you just got old enough to notice.